poverty line, but there's also federal benefits that what I try to do is first do the federal. And then if there's a delta there, I go to use the chapter 115 benefit.
Okay.
Okay, Mr.
Go ahead, Pete.
Unless Mr. Cron has given you a add-on question,
He is not.
I'm gonna lean a little forward and paraphrase what I think he may be asking, but I'm interested in. I think he asked, is your funding for your services coming from any federal budget?
Oh,
And I think, I don't know why he's interested, but I don't want to speculate. It's not for me to say, but I'm interested because there are cuts to the federal government.
Right.
And I'm wondering if your services potentially could be affected.
no, I work for the town of Millis. It's strictly in Massachusetts. Every state does it differently. You know, some states have like veteran centers where they have a whole bunch of like VSOs right there, but the way Massachusetts does it delegates it to the towns, and, you know, there are bigger cities have, you know, one VSO and a whole big staff, or like Medway, Holliston, Ashland all have the same VSO, you know, and Millis has a part-time, so.
Gotcha.
yeah, the town pays me.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? John, I appreciate your time and giving us an update on everything. So we wish you the best, and hopefully things will be good for the next fiscal year for you. All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thanks for taking the time.
Say hi to Lauren.
I will, thank you.
All right. Moving on to the building fiscal year 26 budget request. Looks like Joe, can you speak? Does your volume work?
Can you hear me?
Interesting. All right, hang tight. We're not getting any volume here. Why would that be? Let's see here. Joe.
So I
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you on Zoom.
Register. It's right. Yeah, you're. Like any, let's see. Mute my audio.
Right, lower corner, right near the time.
Right there?
Yeah, is that?
Oh. Hmm.
Make it more to me.
Hang on.
That wasn't nice, Mike. No.
See if the TV found it. We just checked the TV sound, Mike. On the TV.
Still nothing?
Just one more second here. Let's see here.
What about the
Audio.
speaker? Speakers.
It's not this guy, is it? No,
Can you
usually
hear me
comes
now?
through.
No, go further up. That, there. No, next.
Joe, talk.
Can you hear me?
There.
Oh.
All right.
There we
All right,
go.
Voice saved the day.
This was gonna kill our ratings if you couldn't hear us.
Yeah. Hang on, we just have to do some. All right, Joe, give it another whirl. Let's see if we can hear you.
How's that? Any better?
Yes.
Yeah, it works.
Fantastic.
Perfect, but it works. So feel free and be loud.
All right, I'll be as loud as I can, I guess. So yeah, so I'm new to the town, obviously, a new building commissioner. Looking for everything's for level services, level funded. Not looking for any increases or anything at this time. The only thing that we had put forward was for a vehicle through capital planning. So that I don't know if that's going to go through or not. They were looking for more information. But as far as the funding itself for our salaries and to pay for our expenses otherwise, I'm looking for level funded services.
Sorry, I was just fiddling with the computer again. So do you want to talk about your capital request, Joe?
Yeah, so the capital request I put in was for an inspection vehicle to be utilized throughout the department. One of the things that I noticed in my short term of just starting with the town was we had 3 fire calls, 3 emergencies over the month of January. And arriving on scene, I didn't have a vehicle other than my personal vehicle to show up to the scene, and I was kind of questioned of like who I was, why was I there? You know, how did I get notified, that sort of information. The other thing that I'm noticing too, as well, is like when I go to people's property and stuff, I'm showing up in my own pickup truck, and being, you know, identified as being a member of the town, working for the community and doing inspections and things of that nature. I'm kind of not noticed. So it's just like somebody showing up on your property and then you're wondering who this person is and why they're there. So I'm using it more as like an identification piece, plus also to respond to emergencies. So that was my capital request, was for an SUV. And the reason why I was going with an SUV that's got off-wheel road potential is because some of the construction sites are rough in nature, and getting in and out of those construction sites are difficult to do with the terrain. So I'm looking for a four-wheel drive vehicle.
Gotcha, okay. And then, I know you spoke at the capital planning committee, but, as of right now, you and other inspectors drive your own cars, is that correct?
Correct, and we get mileage reimbursement for wherever we go. The mileage is computed from the town hall to the location and back to the town hall. However, like a big portion of my day, not only do I do scheduled inspections, but I also do complaints, and I do other inspections for investigative work and stuff throughout the town to make sure people are complying with the bylaws and with the laws as far as requiring permitting and whatnot. And a lot of that goes on recorded as far as mileage for my vehicle, because it's not a set you know, inspection from one place to another. So I'm putting a lot of time and mileage on my own vehicle, that, you know, is taking up a lot of gas, but I'm not getting reimbursed for all that driving that I actually do within the town limits. So that was one of the other reasons why I was asking for a vehicle, is because that way there, when I'm you know, going around and doing my investigations, it's very evident of who I am and what I'm doing in that location, rather than just somebody, like I said, in a random pickup truck driving around town.
Gotcha, makes sense. They don't have any questions for pickup truck? Go ahead, Joyce.
The only thing is, the Council on Aging turned over a vehicle to the town, to the memorial building for the employees to use. Is that the vehicle that he could use rather than getting a new truck?
It would be one of the alternatives we'd look at if the town decided not to go through with a new vehicle. So I can't say we've made any final determinations yet.
So because you did not come up to the mic, Mike, could you repeat that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Chairman, Mike
Yeah.
Yatsky, Town Administrator.
Thank you.
Our new building commissioner submitted this request as part of the capital plan. Capital committee is currently in the process of reviewing this. Looking to see if we have any surplus vehicles that might be available as part of the broader process we always look at. So we will be at least taking a look at that before any final determinations are made going forward.
How many vehicles do we have, other than the one that the council donated?
How many vehicles we have?
Yeah, define that,
Dozens.
Joyce.
No, I apologize, for the employees to use. Is it just the one?
Define employee.
You're talking about the employees that work in the municipal center?
Yes.
We really don't have, other than the council on aging vehicles, there aren't.
There aren't
vehicles
any
that I'm
others,
aware
so
of.
that's the
Yeah.
only one, okay.
Yeah, that's actively being used right now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pete.
Does the town pay any other employees mileage?
Yes, the town would pay any employee mileage that's traveling specifically for town business.
Okay.
So, I mean, theoretically, I mean, if there were no plans for the building department to use the vehicle that day, or if we had another urgent matter that needed a car to go somewhere on a day, that could be possible as
I'm just
well.
trying to see if there's precedent, if it's normal.
Yes.
Frankly, I think it's a perfectly reasonable request for the building inspector to have a vehicle. But then my thinking goes to what's the most economical way to pay it. And I'm not sure if there's any history on the mileage of the building commissioner over the years that you could estimate costs of per diem or per mile mileage, times that annually. and then throw some magnetic decals or something on the vehicle if
That's what I was
if
thinking.
available. And I'm sure the select board in the town, hopefully the town will look at that to say, what's the best way to do it? Perhaps it is buying or leasing the vehicle.
Yeah, and the capital committee did request, some information about mileage and reimbursements, and, I think the capital committee will be discussing that even tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
I'm sure going forward, you'll hear more about this and what the final determination of the capital committee and the select board is in regards to the request. So whether it would be a new vehicle, whether it be trying to utilize a vehicle the town already has that still is serviceable, or just keeping with the mileage, reimbursement, but it's something, we're looking at all the options right now. And this is the first time we've had this request from the building department since I've been here, but obviously this is the first, major change we've had in the department and staffing since I've been here as well. So, I mean,
Yeah.
different folks like different, processes to use. So, and I think they're all legitimate, and I agree that's something we need to look at from an economic standpoint.
And
As well.
Go ahead.
just as an opinion, and I did too think about the magnetic, magnetic. But the only thing is that whether he wants something magnetic that I had one on my car for my business, and it can after a while leave. And so that would be something he'd have to decide whether he wanted. I'm more in favor
Yeah, I
of
mean,
using
if it was
Yeah.
going on a personal vehicle, like you wouldn't want it on all the time. You would
No.
take it off at the end
on
of the
and
day.
off, right?
And then at the beginning of the day, it would be put back on.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's feasible.
it's feasible. It's not quite as official looking, and it's a little extra task, but it's just a question of, again, looking at what's most economical for the town. And we'll meld that in with the pros and cons operationally. And
Right.
make a recommendation to the select board, and ultimately that's what will come back before you.
Well, with our concerns with all the money that we don't have. It
Yeah,
would be,
Yeah, capital planning committee will go through that and we'll get those numbers from you, Mike. Thank you. Hang on, Mike. Go ahead, Sarah.
So I guess my question is, what is done in other towns similar to Millis as far as does the building inspector or another inspector have a town car? And then if you guys do decide to put forward this request, would there be some sort of, because you had mentioned identification of the vehicle, would you do some sort of decal? Because I noticed the only other vehicles that have decal are just specific public works department, like the trucks and stuff.
Yes, if we did, get a vehicle, it would be lettered, Town of Millis Inspection Department, inspections. As far as what other towns do, I believe it is a mix. The towns, I've worked in have usually had the inspector's vehicle and gotten reimbursed for mileage, but there are towns that have vehicles dedicated to that, and I think Joe has worked in 3 or 4 different towns, so he might want to touch upon that, his experiences, but it is a mix. It depends on the community.
Okay, and I wonder if all the inspectors would be able to use it, for instance, if he's not doing building inspections for one day with plumbers, would they be able to all use that vehicle?
I would say absolutely. I mean, if the building commissioner didn't need the vehicle for a period of time and one of the sub-inspectors came in to do an inspection in town, they can certainly hop in the vehicle and go do inspections.
So it would stay on this property, wouldn't go to his house?
That would be the plan, yes.
You
I
go
just
ahead,
want
Cal.
to follow up with
Yeah.
what Ms. Sarah said. So the vehicle will stay here overnight.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And also I see on your the form here, just keep saying actual on top, not what years they are. And I see that there's a $3,500 reimbursement for auto mileage. Is that for all inspectors? Or is it,
So,
okay, I wasn't sure if it was just
I
his.
believe so. I think I have to look at the numbers again. I don't have them with me, but I
Right.
think the numbers for reimbursements are somewhere in the 2,000 to 3,000 range per year, $2,000 to $3,000.
3,500.
Yeah, yeah, so it would be under that.
So,
What line is that, Kathy?
excuse me.
What line?
If you put down,
So there's no years on these. so-
Yeah.
and it's this one down here.
Gotcha. So,
My
right,
question is, Mr. Chair, if something's $3,500 a year, then you'll see whether, like what Mr. Berube said, if it warrants a $42,000 price tag based on Great. And also, who will maintain this vehicle for repairs and service when it's not warranty? Is that a DPW?
It would be maintained, probably in a similar way to the Council on Aging vehicles.
Which is, refresh my memory on how that is?
DPW pretty much covers all of it, yes.
So we have to notify the DPW if this vehicle
There'll be
comes, that
some-
there'll be extra
Some
hours
additional maintenance, yes.
There's something
allocated.
extra.
Okay.
Uh,
Also, when you, one last question.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. Do these inspectors have badges so that they can just show them? When he says people wander coming on their property, do they have a badge identifying themselves?
No,
Joe's saying no.
Yeah,
He's
so
saying
that's,
no.
that's something that we're gonna be working on. We've
If
had
the
some
selectmen
discussions.
do, then, you know,
Yes,
then
yes.
an inspector should have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you want a proper
I put a
identification,
line item on.
especially if you're showing up in a non-town vehicle.
Yeah,
I think they sell them on Amazon.
With the jacket, I'm sure they all have clothes that identify them. I see yours with yours, so. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to the budget, Joe, thank you, Mike. You just, the stipends, it looks like the stipends are at 30,000. That hasn't changed, and the subscriptions have gone up quite a bit too. Can you add some color around those two line items?
So, from what I know, this was the information that was given to me from the, town accountant saying that the stipends are level funded as far as who the stipends go to for the, assistant, building commissioner, the plumbing and gas inspector, the electrical inspector, all of them have stipends that come along with it. And from what I've been told, it's level funded from the year before.
Okay. Anyone have any other more questions? Okay, so you have a capital request and you have a budget here. Yeah, the annual numbers at the top of the page, Kathy, I noticed that myself. I think we could deduct their years, but it'd be nice to have clarification.
Well, there's no town approved FY 25 town meeting adopted.
I know this one didn't.
Yeah.
Don't have-
So looking at the account, so I might have a separate sheet, but it says actual, the first line is factual FY 2021, then 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. The FY annual numbers are not on the sheet, that's all.
mine are on there, so yours supposed to get cut off somehow.
Yeah.
the numbers, so. The last one is the, obviously the FY 26, and it just goes back from there.
Agreed, yeah, the deductive reasoning,
So
but
the one before the request would be adopted at town
Would
meeting?
be the actual, yes.
Actual. Okay,
Would be actually, would be as approved.
as
Yes.
approved.
That's
yeah,
approved,
but it says
okay.
actual.
Appropriate,
Yeah, okay,
not expended appropriately.
okay.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much for your time tonight. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you. I saw you on capital planning committee, so it's nice to see you again and be in front of FinCom here.
Nice
Thank you very
meeting.
much. It was nice seeing everybody.
All right, take care.
You too.
Okay, moving along, in person again. Town clerk. Come on down. You can sit at the table too if you want to. I mean, either one you want.
Deirdre's gonna help.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
We're not getting sound from the TV,
You know
we're
what?
getting it from the speaker.
Not this guy's on.
Like on Amazon.
TC. Can they?
Thank you, Jim.
Can't.
I know, that's right, I think
But that's fine, I got it.
we'll just do the rest in person here tonight. All right, perfect.
I'm Kathy Smith, interim town clerk, and Deirdre Gilmore's gonna help me with some slides.
Perfect.
Just gotta talk closer.
So I just
Oh, yeah,
have-
Kathy, 4 inches from the mic.
Better.
Nope.
That's not 4 inches. I know your numbers.
Yeah, you gotta pretend like you're singing on a concert song on the
There we go.
stage.
Oh,
There
you
we
wanna
go.
hear me
Yeah,
sing?
we do.
Okay.
All right, let it ring.
So the first slide is just the future of the town clerk's office. There are some questions pending. We don't know if it's gonna be appointed or elected. Right now, we're, I believe at town meeting, Mike, Jody and I talked about this. There's going to be, a warrant article to try to get it appointed instead of elected. But then it will also have to go to the ballot. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the town clerk's office. The budget that, Mike, Jody and I decided to present to you is the town clerk at a 40-hour week department head and the assistant town clerk at 30 hours, which is an increase of 12.5 hours from last year. We did have Lisa, we no longer have Lisa, so we're missing that extra person in our office. So that's, and then just Deirdre, if we can go to the election turnout. This is just a summary of what we did last year. We had 4 elections, two town meetings. Obviously, the presidential election was very big for everybody, but those are our numbers for last year.
Can I just ask a question on
Yes,
that?
absolutely,
83% for the presidential election,
yes.
I would say that's probably normal for a presidential
That's pretty
election.
normal, yes.
Okay.
Willis doesn't vote a lot in annual elections, but presidential, everybody comes out. Yes,
Gotcha.
that's typical, yes, yeah.
And before we, is it all right if we ask questions
Oh,
as you go
absolutely,
along? I think Pete has a question, maybe on the last slide or
Yeah,
something like
Quick
that.
question, I understand how it's not, that it hasn't been
Yes.
decided, but
Yes.
can you tell us what's the process or what's the authority to make the determination of whether it's appointed or voted? Is it an amendment to charter, bylaws?
It is a charter. It would be an
It is.
amendment to a charter, so it would have to be approved at town meeting and on the ballot.
Okay.
Yes, so it's a charter change, yes, because
And-
right now the charter is elected.
And when you say that there's going to be an article at town meeting, are you indicating that so you have knowledge that the select board is proposing one, or is there a citizen's petition?
I'll let Mike speak to that. There is no
Thank you.
citizens petition.
Go
ahead, Mike.
Chairman, thank you. So the board hasn't made any formal determination as of yet. This item is actually going to be on their meeting agenda for next Monday. They're going to be discussing this issue, on whether or not they intend on putting an article and a ballot question before the voters this May. It would also require a approval of a special act by the legislature signed by the governor. So if anything, if the town meeting and the ballot approved it, it would be sent up to the state. And we anticipate, based on the state's usual timeframe, it would be about a year before we have a special act in place and enacted. So no matter what happens, we're going to have an elected clerk for at least most of FY 26, no matter what happens. But the select board will be discussing that next week, so I encourage you to tune in, and I'll certainly keep you informed at your meetings as to where the board stands on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Continue, thank you.
Any questions on the election turnout? It's pretty just general knowledge.
Yeah,
The biggest change in our office is the demand for mail-in ballots. In June of 2022, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 54, Section 25B, was passed, and now anyone in the state, anyone in the town gets a postcard from the state to see if they want a mail-in ballot. Prior, you had to have a reason you worked or a religious reason or anything like that. So now we currently have 7,032 registered voters, and they all received postcards from the state in 2024 for the elections. You do not need to send them out for a local election. It is just state or federal.
and that comes from the state, you said?
Yes, yes, but if they got the postcard and they check all elections, we have to include the local election. This year, we just have a local election, so they do not have a postcard for this year.
Yeah,
Next year for the primary, they will. Next year for the gubernatorial, they will.
gotcha. So just to verbalize it, so it's a state law,
Yes,
but we don't have to do it on the local level.
correct.
Should
Yes,
we?
but
Or not?
no, we
Okay.
don't. We're not mandated to. do
We're not
it.
mandated.
We're not mandated, and no one does it for the local. But in 2024, they sent them out, so we had to send them for the local. They
Yeah.
check all elections. That means any election,
Oh, I'm with you.
including local.
I'm with you.
That makes.
It does make sense. I missed that last
Yeah,
checkbox.
Yeah.
Keep, yep, understood.
Okay, so for the 2024 presidential election, we mailed out 3,325 ballots based on requests from residents. Prior to that, we sent out about 40 to 50, so it's dramatically increased.
Do you know how many you got back? I mean,
Yes, two, yeah, I think it was, because I just, for
Roughly.
the election grant, 2,500 approximately, yeah.
Good.
So this is just in the town clerk mentoring class that I take, this is just, the next slide just shows you what it used to be before 2022 and then after. So this is just, people would come to the polls, they'd mark the ballots, they'd put it in the machine. And then the next year, if you could go to the next one. And then the next one is what we have to do to mail them out. It's quite a process. It's quite a lengthy process. We do get reimbursement. I just finished doing some extensive grants.
You knew I were gonna ask that
Yes,
question.
yes, and they will do for mail-in and early voting. We
Okay.
Get money back, not for the actual election, but for time for mail-in ballots and for early voting, we do get grant money back.
Okay,
Yeah, and I just completed all those
And-
hundreds of pages.
so does that grant money cover not only the material, but also the hours?
It covers
for the
a
hours?
portion of everything, not everything. It covers a portion of it.
Okay,
Yeah. So the next one, just a little bit quickly, we plan to increase civic involvement. We want to go over to the high school and get the kids who turn 18 kind of involved.
yeah,
And we've also had lots of requests to create some educational material for the seniors, to bring sample ballots down, to explain, when we mail, we can't physically hand a ballot to someone, we have to mail it to them, but they can physically bring it back to us. That's very confusing for some people. We've also done, school tours where kids come over and learn about civics, so that's kind of fun, the elementary kids. And just kind of streamline some information, improve our website, just kind of make sure people feel very knowledgeable about the elections and the election process.
so, sorry to
That's okay.
keep interrupting you.
Please.
So that effort, kind of a campaign effort, is to get younger voters
And
involved?
inform.
Because doesn't the census automatically log you in as a voter or not?
You have to register to vote, no.
You do?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. When you're 18, you have to register, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm. Yeah, I have to register, everyone has to register. So you have to come into the office, or you can do it online now, which is nice. For the younger people, they love to do everything online.
full disclosure, I have two 18-year-olds, so that's why I was
Yes,
asking.
they can one line, mass.gov. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so Deirdre, the next slide is the mentoring classes. Sue and I have taken some of the mentoring classes. And it's wonderful. They've helped us with the conferences. So while navigating all the changes, not just having our election warden of 20 years, Chris McCaffrey, retired, and then Lisa retired. So there's been a lot of changes in our office.
Yep.
With elections. So we've done these classes. They help us with election procedure, advanced deposit and removal, and staying up to date with all laws. So we hope to continue these classes. The next thing we hope to do is to enhance office filing. That's the next one, Deirdre. We currently hold all planning, all zoning, all decisions, approvals, plans. And unfortunately, some of our things are by street, some of them are by year, some of them are by gas station, office building. So if we ever had enough time, we'd like to improve that filing system for the next group that comes in when Sue and I are gone. Because it's very confusing. It's very confusing.
Is there a database system out there? Because I know Capital Planning Committee is going through the same process and leveraging ClearGov. I don't know if they or others have something like
There's
that.
something that Camille and I have talked a lot about. It's something that will update all the like the zoning bylaws and the general bylaws, the chapter. After a town meeting, we just send them and they update that, because believe it or not, when Camille and I try to update, it's like 1980 version of Word.
Yeah.
That we're trying to edit, and it's difficult, but it is expensive. So, we're working with, Jim Donovan IT to try to get something that's a little bit easier for us to try to maneuver, taking a PDF and putting it into Word so we can add the new zoning bylaws, the new MBTA bylaw. There's a lot of stuff that gets added every year
Yeah.
after a town meeting.
Mr.
Of
Chair,
course. Go ahead,
I
Ken.
just like to mention that the clerk's office is the legal and official keeper of all records in
Yes.
town.
Yes.
So we should have an ear towards supporting them computerizing.
There's
And
a lot
because
of
if you
paper.
see the plans from the planning board,
Yeah.
zoning board,
Yeah.
Yeah,
not just births and
No,
deaths,
it's not.
it's
a lot.
massive,
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
it is. We have a lot of paper.
Yeah.
and hopefully we can get to more of a hybrid model
Yes.
of digital and less
Right.
paper. Yep, I follow you.
The next item is just election, staff education and training. We want to kind of optimize our election staff. Signups, get everyone's email. We believe it or not, sometimes still do it archaically and send out a letter saying this is when you're gonna work and this is what you're gonna do. And we'd also like to, just kind of teach our staff and help our staff with the mail-in ballot procedures. We had a lot of safety training this year because it was a controversial election, presidential election, tally, and full pad training. So our election workers do a lot, and sometimes they only come in once a year, sometimes twice a year. So we really need to bring them back every year and kind of educate them, talk about the election, talk about different things. And then highlight election and volunteer opportunities for the community. And the last one is just everyone's talking about just the potential impact for the increased population if a lot of these new developments happen. And I'm still working with the state on this, but if we go over a certain amount, like over 10,000, I don't know if we have to add another precinct. We only re-precinct every 10 years, but if we go over that, we would have to have we would either have to move the election to a bigger gym, the high school gym, add another precinct. Actually, precinct 3 has increased dramatically. That's Regency Place. We've had lots of new residents. So that's our biggest precinct right now. We had to add additional election staff for that precinct alone because it's so busy. And just as the town grows, we grow too. That's like every other department in town. Yeah, so that's all I have. And I don't know if you have any questions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Sorry to keep being bothersome.
No, not at all. That's what I'm here for.
Something that's piqued my,
Yes.
for many years are the town meeting voter clickers.
Yes.
Does that come under your jurisdiction
It
or the
does.
moderator?
Well, that's a good question. I would assume it would be us.
Okay,
I did speak with Stephanie and Medway. They just got them.
exactly, that's
They
what I
love
heard.
them. I did reach out to, I think it's Meridian, who has them. Sue and I went to a conference and they were there. They were one of the vendors, so we talked to them. We have all the information. I'd love to have them because it just it cuts town meeting down dramatically if you have a standing count, especially, you know, there's a possibility of the high school, you know, coming up, in the next few, I don't know how long, in the next, yeah. So that would be it, and that, you know, I know some people feel uncomfortable standing up if their neighbor is for it and they're against it, and the clickers, no one
They just don't
vote.
show
You
up.
just click, right, you just click, and so I would love to get them. We've done a lot of research on them,
A lot of
but
people don't want it, Mr. Chair, not to interrupt
Yeah,
because of
go
that same,
yes,
that you can
right,
be
they
more
want it,
anonymous.
the old
than-
New England, you know, you have to get up
Yeah.
and write, and.
When you were
stand your
dealing
ground.
with, through the chair, when you were
Yeah.
dealing with, Meridian and speaking with them, did you get a cost of $1 per
It's-
100 people or?
It's about $5,000. And then, they would come to the first election, but again, you know, we only usually have about 200 people, but sometimes if it's what we want it for and what we'll use it for is like a school or a police
Yeah.
station or something like that, you could have up to 600, 700, 800 people show up. So, Stephanie has it in Medway, Dottie has it in Westwood. So I'm just kind of learning about them, but I would love to have that, because I think it would cut down on people questioning.
And could you
know, did
actually
they count
explain what
rightly?
the clickers are? Cause I'm
Thank
thinking of
you.
like someone at the door clicking, but you're saying the voters have
The
it.
voters have them.
So how does that work?
It's on like a little wristlet and it's connected
When
to,
your order's ready for pickup at
Yeah.
the restaurant.
right, so it will
So
say.
you vote with it. You vote with it, John. You vote with, I've been in Westwood Town Meeting. You vote with them. So everybody comes in, they register, you get a clicker. It's identified to you. And then you vote by clicking yes or no on a particular item. So there's no head count or anything like that.
I see, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I follow you.
Yeah.
And how did Mr. Crone find it?
I think it was great. I mean, it was much faster and more accurate in
Right.
terms of getting exact numbers, especially if you're going to get a town meeting that's going to come down to 3 or 4 or 5 votes. There's going to be no question as to the number of people that voted yes or no. So it does have its benefits, and you can rent them per session. So if you run into a situation where you think you're going to need 500, you can rent them, or if you think you're going to have less, you rent that amount.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah,
borrow
would-
them from Westwood or Medway?
Probably could.
Man, we would
I'm sure
have-
Dottie would do it. I'm sure she would.
So would renting, obviously, I would think the cost would be a lot less than mine.
It would be a lot less.
Maybe
We'd
more
still have to have
logistics.
someone from the company
Of
come and
course.
set everything up and do
Yeah.
everything, but yes, I've been
Interesting.
looking into it. I don't have a definite cost or an amount yet, but
You
I
got,
think it
you
would
got till
be-
November,
I know. But I think people would feel more comfortable with the vote.
yeah.
Instead of having, you know, in a dark auditorium trying to, because people stand up, they sit down, they go talk to their neighbor, they go, you know, so it
Yeah.
would be, I think, more accurate.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
once again, I'm just wondering if it, Could this be researched for this town meeting vote?
In May,
Right, to approve this for your budget, to have something like this?
I can try.
I'm just, this is a
You're
view
asking.
of the board.
Yeah.
That, because I can appreciate that as a town clerk, you have a good rapport with other town clerks. I know that for a fact because of, I know a few people I went to school with that are town clerks and they know you all very
Yes,
well.
yes,
And, if you're supporting something like this, Kathy, then I think that the town should rally behind it.
I
I
can
would,
definitely,
yeah, I would suggest, maybe going to one of the town meetings in May that has it. And you can take a good look at it, go through the process with them. Dottie, I know Dottie Powers very well, as I know you do. And I think then they can go through everything with you, show you exactly what it is and so forth. Because I don't think town meeting in May is going to be a controversial one, but certainly if we do have a school override a provision or warrant article in fall town meeting, that would be the one I think that would benefit from devices like this.
I agree. And I am going to a mentoring class with Dottie in 2 weeks, so I can definitely,
But
pick her brain.
you don't have it in your budget here. I'm looking at your
I
narrative.
don't, because I don't have enough data to present. I don't have a quote yet.
I wonder if there's like a plug-in number you could use though.
I could try.
I mean, it just might be worth it just because with the school building vote coming up in November, obviously that's a big vote.
How would you budget it now for something in November?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
go ahead, Pete.
Was there any discussion along these lines, this discussion we're having when you presented your budget to the select board?
No, I did not mention. It's in it's in my future things that we hope to do.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but,
The reason I ask is
Yeah.
because it's up to them. It's up to
Correct.
them to put it on the
Correct.
budget.
okay.
We can talk about it all we want and I'm sure we'll mention it to them at a tribal board or something.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, you could the finance committee could make a motion and request and recommend that the,
Right, and recommend.
that the
Yeah.
board, the select board, research this.
Sure.
So,
And then finally,
Right.
I mean, I guess I think it's worth saying that there's no silver bullet to, I agree that it's probably worth, saving some time and an effective solution. I have no idea. First I hear this. I will say that there will be controversy around it. You're changing how elections are done. If you pay any attention at all to the public forum, there is a wild amount of mistrust between proponents and opponents to the school. This would be a change and the conspiracy theories will run amok.
True, true.
So it's probably, that said, it's probably smart to talk about this now, not just on the lead up to the fall
Fall
town
town
meeting.
meeting.
And do it very much out in the
Openly.
open.
Right, and I can tell you that town clerks that I have spoken to they said it's fabulous.
it's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's fabulous, like I've.
For years.
No one has said, it didn't work
I
out,
wish
I
we
didn't
didn't
like
have
it,
it.
everyone's like, oh my gosh, it changed town meeting.
Yeah,
So I haven't heard any negative feedback regarding the
Okay.
course at all.
yeah, no, it's, we'll follow with select board, but I think that'd be phenomenal for the fall. And if we can do something ahead of time, that'd be great. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
Sue Bauer, 115 Forest Road. I just want to mention, I work with Kathy at the town clerk's office, and I think this year particularly because the budget is, we have to include all sorts of different scenarios. We were hesitant to ask for anything more capital
Yeah.
because we're trying to navigate the course right now, and just, so we were hesitant to bring up.
Understood. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
completely
I
understand.
wasn't.
Yeah, understood. Thank you for mentioning that, but it's an important thing, I think.
It is.
If
and
we didn't have any big items coming down the line, then it'd be a different
If-
story, but.
Right, the only thing that we foresee that could be a lot is if we have to have another precinct, that would be another voting machine, that would be another 2 poll pads, that would be, in excess of
Hmm.
$7,000 to $10,000 if we have to add another precinct, based on population and growth. We're
Okay.
hoping,
That might not be for at least 2 fiscal years, maybe
we're hoping,
more.
yeah, we're hoping,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you're gonna see more,
Hang on,
mail
hang on,
voting too. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, one of my questions was actually gonna be that if we do have to add additional voting machines or another precinct, is there also another grant that you could obtain from the
Yes.
state to be able to do that?
Yes, I'm becoming quite knowledgeable about these grants and filling out the hundreds of forms that are required. So yes, I would definitely, I'm a big I'll fill out any paperwork to get the grants,
Okay,
yes.
so there is one, there
Would be,
available.
yes, it
Okay,
could be
perfect.
used ever early, yes. Yep, durable equipment, yes, I
Great.
could fill out a durable equipment grant.
I did have one more question.
Sure,
Actually,
absolutely.
just also the other grant that you were, asking for reimbursement for the mail-in voting, is that state or federal?
I had just finished the, grants for last
Yeah,
September
right.
and last November.
Yeah.
We don't know how much money we're going to get. Those are grants that we have requested. They only refund early voting costs and, mail-in ballots, percentage of mail-in ballots.
State.
Yes.
But it's on a state level, not a federal
State,
level.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pete Underhill
Yeah.
keeps putting his.
Okay, hang on, Pete. Mike Crone, do you have a question?
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Okay. Pete Underhill, do you have a question?
I was just gonna talk a little bit about the electronic voting machines at town meeting that we were just discussing.
Yeah.
We should check to see if the moderator, I believe they have the ultimate decision on how, if that's used. So perhaps we should check with Mr. Cannareggi to see if that's something he even would consider before going any further with this issue.
That's a fair statement. So check in with the moderators, is what you're saying, Pete?
Yes.
Yes, this was looked under by a previous moderator, my wife. I believe they have the ultimate decision on how the vote happens at town meeting. I could be wrong, but I think we should check with
That is
Brutus on this.
Yeah, no, Kathy confirms that,
Yeah,
correct.
that's correct.
Great point. Thank you, Pete.
I can email Bruce, I can reach out to Bruce.
That'd be great. Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything specific going through your,
Just that,
Line budget items?
Mike, Jody and I talked about, we kept, the stipending for, an elected clerk.
yeah,
That's just because we just really don't know what's gonna happen. We really don't know, I don't know if you wanna speak to it or.
Yes, I mean, thank you, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
There's a lot of what ifs coming forward in the next year regarding the town clerk's office. So in speaking with both Kathy and Jody, our finance director, about this, we wanted to include the proper funding for the different possible scenarios. And certainly, you know, depending on what scenario occurs, any unused funding will just end up going back into the town's free cash
Yeah.
later. But it's been a tough budget for them because of that uncertainty this year.
totally agree.
And I just wanted to use that opportunity to, you know, thank Kathy and Sue for their hard work, especially since last August, when there was a big change in the office.
Yeah.
Only a few months before the big town election and town meeting, they stepped up and they performed very well in their service to the community. So I just want to take a moment to thank them for that. That was outstanding, great work they did in jumping into the breach in that situation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, also, I believe you have some, staff that works off their tax dollars.
Yes, we have two, Pat Diatlevy and Bonnie
Right,
Hilton.
okay,
Yes.
appreciate that,
Yes.
that the town has that available to them to fill in when people are, getting in
They're very
and
valuable.
work and stuff,
Yes,
so.
yes, they're very valuable to our
Thank you.
office, absolutely.
Go ahead, Pete.
Question, can you, where is the elected stipend in the budget?
The
Is it
top, the
the
top
12
one.
12
First
four?
12,000, yeah.
The 12,720?
I'm getting old, I gotta put my reading
No
glasses on,
problem,
yep,
no,
yes, the top stipend,
see
oh,
it.
it says for overtime, sorry, it should
Yeah,
say,
okay.
that's a typo, it should
Yeah.
be for elected town clerk.
So it seems like, Mr. Chair, that if you took your added hours, it would still come to the total, less than the total of what the elected clerk would receive.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Just looking through, I don't have any specific questions.
I put the little comment more for me,
Yeah.
to help you, but to help me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just give us a second here, just 'cause there's a
Absolutely.
couple pages, but.
Yeah.
No, I looked at it before. Yeah, I don't have anything specific. You answered a lot of it with your presentation. Does anyone else have any further questions? Zoom land? I think everyone looks good there. All right.
Done.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for all your efforts. No question.
We'll look into that.
Thank you very much.
We used one to train our dog.
Yeah, it's got a personal meaning. You gotta be careful what clicker we get.
Our Boston accent with the.
Okay.
Come on down, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Oh. How are we doing tonight? Good.
You know, in 45 minutes.
If you can do it in 30 minutes.
25 minutes, Jim, 25.
What do you say, Mike?
25 minutes, Jim, 25.
25 minutes.
Like,
Don't make me, Mike, mute you, Mike. All right, go ahead, Jim.
So I think Andrew sent out two budgets. One was just a breakdown that she just sent out today, and I believe you have the whole budget from, I think it was sent out through you, right?
Yeah, we got the 37-page
Right,
budget.
so let's go through the 6-page one,
Ooh,
and I think we'll get most of you.
was this a 6-page one?
Yes.
Okay. For FinCom at home, it's, I don't know if you can see this, it's on.
We can
handout
see
here.
it,
You
we
may
can
not-
see it.
You just might have to watch us go through it. Oh, actually.
We
no,
can- we can see it.
I apologize, Deidre. Go ahead.
I mean, the main reason is the DPW budget right now is still, it's a very up in the air type budget this year. Nothing's really been decided. And I think when we get to the last 2 pages, you'll understand exactly more of what I'm talking about. But so we can start with the general, DPW fund, you know, the accomplishments, you know, the paving that we did last year. It's listed, and that was in the amount of over $623,000+. Pretty impressed with that amount of work that was done and what we've got done in the past several years, and that was done by, you know, town meeting appropriations. Without that, none of this would get done. I mean, we'd be so far behind. We still can't survive on paving with $272,000 from the state. That's all we get from them each year. That wouldn't do one road now. The second, we received, working with Mr. Weiss, we received a complete street grant, and we, as part of our bid for paving, we replaced the sidewalks on Plain Street and replaced all the detectable pads on Route 109. I think most people can see that they're all been ripped up already from the sidewalk plows and everything else like that. The contractor will come back and fix them, you know, this spring. He
Okay.
knows he has to fix that. That, you know, the replacement of the detectable pads, that's been something for many years. It's been asked for by residents of Millis to be put in. When the Route 109 was done back in the early 2000s, they were, you know, required to have them in place.
These are the yellow bumpy pads at the
Yes.
curb, yeah.
I mean, every intersection had the proper handicapped accessibility for wheelchairs and walkers and stuff like that, but they did not have to put those yellow pads in.
Mm-hmm.
As John told you earlier, if you look out front at the town hall, there's 8 new flag poles that are up there, and they depict every service. And John paid for them. That was money that he was talking about that was left over from his budget, and John went out and purchased those flag poles, and the DPW staff installed those poles.
Nice.
And a big thing, the people that use the transfer station, I think one can see the big change down at the DPW yard is the salt shed. And that was all done, rebuilt from the inside out by DPW workers. And it saved tens, if not, you know, $100,000 of work that was done. And we used leftover money from snow and ice from last year. And a nominal fee, I think it was less than $20,000. So getting into the budget, we have no idea yet. There's a lot of contracts in the pipeline, hopefully to be ratified within the next week or two. And until that's ratified, we don't know. You know, the DPW director's position is under the personnel plan. The secretarial staff and positions in the DPW office are under SEIU, and everything else falls under the ASME contract. And all 3 of them, you know, they're close to being, you know, approved. So you'll find out what those amounts, and that's when everything will change in that part of it. And what I put further discussion at the end of the presentation, you'll see that on all of them, And we'll talk about that at the end. So, you know, we've heard a lot of discussion of, you know, what's coming and, you know, Millis is, you know, still gonna be blown up and, you know, we're still all this stuff. I've been on the planning board for approximately 18 years now, and I've never seen it so slow as it is now. So everything that is being discussed is more on a 40B type situation going through the ZBA. And they may be a larger, a portion of stuff, you know, that's gonna be built and will bring in more people. But I can tell you that, you know, the DPW is pretty much the gatekeeper of knowing what's gonna be built in Millis. Because the first stop that they have to go to is there enough water and is there enough sewer? If that's what the, you know, the developer chooses. A developer can choose to, he can, you know, put in septic systems for homes. He could put in a package treatment plant. But anything that's come to Millis since I've been on the planning board, other than maybe one development and, was because we had sewer. The availability of sewer was there. When we get into the sewer budget, I'm going to explain to you that that's all gonna slow down. And I'll give you the reason when we get to the sewer budget. It's not good news at all for the rest of what the sewer capacity that the town of Millis has. So I'll explain that when we get to that. So what am I doing? Next is the transfer station. Again, the same with the transfer station, waiting on until the contracts get settled. Expenses did increase $14,000, and that's just overall gas prices have gone up, electricity around the transfer station. You can see that in the budget. I highlighted everything in red that I'm asking, you know, for it to go up. That's the same with the DPW budget. If you look at that, you'll see everything is highlighted in red that I'm requesting an increase for that. And most of it is just, you know, parts for the mechanics have gone up. Anything asphalt products have gone up. Everything that, you know, we purchase has gone up. And I did put in there, let me go back to the general fund, take my glasses off and read it. So when I was talking about, in FY 25, the actual budget that was spent for the DPW budget back in 2015 was $609,231. The town meeting adopted last year was $798,473. If you look at that over a 10-year span with increases of salaries and stuff like that, to me, the DPW, and if you look at all the other budgets, has not kept up with, you know, the growth of Millis. You know, we talk about, you know, Millis went from, I can tell you almost, we went from 7,800 people to today over 9,000, I think 25. That's something, you know, the numbers that we report now. If you look at every other budget, the major budgets in the town, and actually look at any budget and that's put forward, and you can look on your own line, you look through your own books. If you go back to 2015 and look at 2025, I think you're gonna see that, you know, the DPW has been left in the rearview mirror with the growth of Millis. Because that's what I'm trying to tell you is I think the growth is here, and the largest growth is we're there. You know, we're pretty much there. Unless people change how they're gonna come and build in Millis. So that's, I meant to bring that as up in the general fund discussion. The revenues received at the transfer station. Let's remember that the transfer station is not free by any means. Transfer station is not free. We all pay for stickers that use it. We pay for bags to throw the trash away. If we want to get rid of a couch, we pay for a certain amount for that. And that revenue that was brought in is $99,284.15. That was in FY 24. FY 25 that we're in now, we're actually at this point from 24 to 25, we're $22,000. Because most of the people that are moving into, believe it or not, into the Glen Ellen and Acorn Place, they all had transfer stations. They came from towns that they had transfer stations. And they're still purchasing that sticker because they like the idea of being able to get rid of whatever they want on, whether it's Wednesdays and Saturdays. And at the transfer station, last year we received a grant in the amount of $3,500.
So do you think that revenue will decline based on slowing?
No, I think that-
residents coming in?
I mean, I don't know how many of you have trash pickup at your house, but I think you know how much that costs, and that keeps on going up.
It does.
Transfer station prices haven't gone up in, you know, a nominal fee. I think in the last maybe 8 years, we've gone up, for a second sticker from $5 to $10. The price of the bags, I think, ended up one a quarter in that time. The actual cost for a sticker for, seniors is $35, 62 and over, and 62 and below is $95. So I've always said it, it's the best deal in Millis, and I think people are finally starting to catch on. It's just the idea of the availability of the times to get there.
Yeah.
The transfer station was open, used to be open, Kathy, you probably know it was at 7 days or 5, I don't, but when I came here, it was right after, there was cuts, and the transfer station was the first thing that was cut. And it was cut down from whatever it was to the two, it was actually 1.5 day.
Yeah.
And in that time, we've actually opened it up, you know, all day Wednesday and all day Saturday.
Gotcha.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up, because it's, right now, when you have, you're gonna have to pay a lot more to get rid of a couch. That if you have a hauler who probably won't even take it, at the transfer station, you pay $25. You know, for a box spring and mattress, $25, or whatever, everything's $25. So transfer station, I see it keeping growing
Okay.
as time goes on.
Go ahead, Joyce. Joyce has a question.
Could the revenue that you receive, allow the transfer station to be open an additional day?
So right now, those funds actually offset the cost of the operation today.
Mm.
So it actually, the town does, because of the way the stickers are sold, it always lopsides. One month, you're buying the stickers in June for the next year, for the next fiscal year, and so on. But, to operate the transfer station, I believe it's in the 120s. So the town does. So this just helps to offset the cost of what it is, because we don't offer trash pickup.
Has that ever been visited, trash pickup, so that, the town could actually make money?
You won't make money. You'll never make money on it.
No?
And if you think your complaints about, stormwater bills, you're gonna have to pay for it. Our taxes will have to pay for it, whether it be on your water bill, your transfer station.
So when you, sorry to interrupt, so when you look at surrounding towns, they factor that into their taxes, the
No,
trash
they-
pickup?
They.
For, as a town pickup
There's a
though?
fee.
Yeah.
There's a separate fee to pay for it.
Gotcha.
But why couldn't we, I mean, there are so many different trash companies that come into this town. Why couldn't we, as a town, have our own trash pickup where people paid, if those who wanted it could pay for the trash pickup? Those who wanted to go to the transfer station still got their stickers, but there'd be that opportunity for trash pickup for town.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work
Okay.
out that way. The only reason why it doesn't work out that way, you either give them the blanket policy for every house and everybody pays that. And whether you go to the transfer station, I can use Medway as an example.
Yeah.
Medway, they have trash pickup, and they also pay for the bags and stuff like that are picked up outside their property, but they get a free ticket to the transfer station.
And does that work for them or not?
Well, they have issues, but that's, they have with the landfill, but I think the transfer station's closing, but it does, for us, we don't have the staff that was gonna manage it, because you're talking another full-time person that will have to manage this, because if somebody cart gets blown away, somebody's gonna have to bring it out, that's not all done by the company.
So for,
I wouldn't recommend it.
yeah. So for Millis, the numbers don't necessarily make sense that you're probably seeing. Pete, did you have a question?
I do. Mr. Cronin has his hand up.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mike Crum, go ahead.
And I do.
Jim, shouldn't the transfer station be self-funded though? shouldn't we be raising the fees associated so that it is actually self-funded?
So that's been a question that's been brought forth to the select board, and each year, if you just go up in the price of it, you're gonna lose, many people won't use it, and where we don't offer, I mean, there's nothing that we offer. I don't know of any transfer stations that make this much money to offset the costs for residents. Right now we have, I think there's almost 500 families, homes use the transfer station. And the offset cost of it, I'd have to look at my book on, what the actual cost of the transfer station is.
Is it in the big presentation?
I mean, many of us, we hire trash collection. And I agree, I don't think it makes any sense for the town to get into trash collection. We had it in Westwood, it was extremely expensive. But that being said, given the fact that the fees are so low with the transfer station, that even if you increased them a little bit more and made it self-funding, it still would be a viable option. I mean, it's still less than 1 month trash or 3 months trash collection if you had private trash collection for the permit and even the bags and everything else. So it isn't something, it's something I think we should at least look at.
Yeah, good point. Is there, you're looking at the transfer station?
Yeah, so the overall cost, I believe, the fees and the salary that's in there, and don't forget this employee only works there, I mean, most of the time he's working in the DPW.
Yeah.
The total over cost of it is $270,266.75. And that's, that's incorrect, timeout.
Yeah.
Made a mistake.
Yeah, I see the mistake. Please clarify.
You got the wrong, it
Yeah.
says 95,000 for fuel, it's supposed to be 9,500.
Okay.
So take that
Okay,
and lower it all down
Yes.
to almost at 168.
gotcha.
So what's the differential? I'm sorry, so what's the differential?
On the diesel fuel, Mike?
No, what's the differential between amounts collected and amounts expended for the
So it's at
transfer station?
168,536, and last year we brought in 99, almost 100,000. So it's $68,000.
Mr.
Town.
Yeah.
Cost
go
of a
ahead.
truck, cost of a truck.
Does that cost only include the fuel and the personnel? Does it include all the dumping?
Yes.
So everything that gets dropped off there includes the disposal all the way to the end of the waste stream.
That's correct.
I'm kind of looking at it the same way that Mr. Crone is, in the sense that if that's a viable operation, it ought to be self-sufficient. And if it's not, then it's being subsidized by taxpayers that don't use it. And that's a similar argument that we've used, or that we've heard in this committee about water enterprise, sewer enterprise, that these activities, the rec fund, different activities, the ambulance fund, ought to be self-sufficient. And I think there's merit in looking at it and closing the gap. Maybe you don't get to 100%, but closing the gap seems like the more fair thing to do.
So I guess the only, Mr. Brewery, that I can answer that question is that you have the right to purchase a sticker at the transfer station.
Yeah.
You choose not to. You choose to, you have a private hauler. If you want to make it, the price of it unattainable for seniors, because the seniors are the most that use the transfer station, then,
Well, you're putting words in my mouth that I object to. I would never say that I'm trying to make it unattainable for a senior.
no, I said,
am
that was
saying-
I said that was my.
Hang on.
That was my
Yeah.
opinion, sir, that's.
No, you said I said
Hang on,
that,
Pete,
and I did not say that,
Pete.
nor would I.
Okay, go ahead.
So, understood. So you
I
have the
said
option.
that, Mr. Chair, what, if I owe Mr. Baruri an apology,
You
it
don't.
was that I was stating that if that's gonna make it unattainable for us seniors, then so be it. Then let's do it.
Yeah. Did you say earlier, there's 500 households that use the transfer station, roughly?
Yeah, right.
And of that number, do we know what percentage of seniors that number is?
It's far.
Like 400 out of 500?
I'll give you that.
Okay,
Over half.
Yeah, I agree.
What does it, I apologize, my husband
Good.
gets the, he
Yeah.
uses it, and he buys the sticker. We also have trash pickup because it's very, who we use is extremely affordable. What does the sticker cost?
$35.
And is that for the general public or is that for the senior?
That's for seniors.
And what does the general public?
That might be about $5 on the.
And that's a year.
That's for a year.
For a year, yeah. Plus
And the
bags.
bags
Any
cost?
bag for a large bag is $1.75. For a smaller bag that most seniors use is $1.25.
Do we have an idea with that, say it's the $90? Because, and the price of the bags, do you know about how much an average household is spending? If it's the $90 plus the bags?
No, we don't, because the bags are bought through at Roach Brothers and a couple of other.
Okay.
Depends on each household and the amount.
No, right, I just wondered if there was, any documentation of how much, if it was as much as having a trash pickup or not.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Good.
So the next is, the Water Enterprise Fund.
Yep,
So the accomplishments is the DPW has secured 2 funding sources to offset the project cost of $7.1 million for the new PFAS treatment plant located at well number 3. The first grant is from the federal government in the amount of $3.5 million. The second is a 0% interest from SRF loan from the Mass DEP in the amount of $3.6 million. And just this past Monday, we received a $100,000 ARPA grant fund for the construction of well number 3. I know that everybody's questions, these are all federal, all this is federal money. And I can guarantee you that through the process, through this time, I check constantly of what is available, is it been taken, is it not available? And all 3 of them, as of today, I've been assured that they are there. The only reason why I can believe that that's actually there is because the town administrator just signed on Monday, the ARPA grant from the state. For the $100,000 that I applied for. So
the total cost is 7.1 and these 3 grants are covering the entire cost?
well, we're still gonna have to pay the amount of 3.6 million, just not the interest on it.
Yeah, true. Gotcha.
Very nice.
Mr. Chair,
That's great. Sarah?
Jim, is that from so these grants, the federal grants, what department are they from? Are they part of the EPA or how do they?
Yes, the first one is an EPA grant, that was actually given to us and assured to the town many years ago through, Congressman Auchincloss. But we lost that funding because the first PFAS plant was not built under the Buy Back America. Everything had to be American made and everything else for the project. And we were already too far, the project had been bid and we were actually in construction when we found out that we received that grant. So hounding them and constantly sending follow-up emails and reapplying for this. Both of these, the 2 large grants were sustained and were given to us for, because we're building another PFAS plant. And it will be, Buy Back America, Build Back America, everything will be American made in the plant.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, have you gotten any part of the
No.
grant yet? Nothing,
We everything we have to submit.
right?
So the town meeting approved the 7.1 million plus the additional 360 something thousand for contingency plan, contingency money. And we're just starting, we broke ground last week. The Concom approved, so we got to go ahead. So the actual construction will start this Tuesday. They'll start clearing. So we're gonna find out because
Where you even sending it at this point?
we still have contacts from
Okay.
the state that they're both working. I still have emailed them constantly. And I guess we could talk about, that's the same as Route 109 with, we finally signed a contract for that also. And the state, the only difference between that is We won't pay for that. They'll pay for that. It's their contractor. They'll come in and they'll pay it and it's not a reimbursement situation with that. And I received an email, with a follow-up I sent last week, because I knew it was coming here and I was figuring somebody would ask the question. And the response that I received from the state was that, we're on the 25 list and we're on the early projection for it to be paid. That's all he said.
Is that, did you mention earlier in another meeting, maybe this summer or not? Or what's the timeline?
Well, it's supposed to be May or June.
May or June.
If it's in FY 25, it's gonna be done by June 30th.
Gotcha, yeah. Go ahead, Joyce.
Some of the departments have mentioned that with our population increasing, that, say 10,000, if we reach 10,000, go over the 10,000, there's more available grant money available to the town. Is that true for the DPW as well? If our population reaches the 10,000,
No.
would we? No.
No, I can tell you that everything will change if we get that 10,000 in testing, reporting.
So
And I
it's
think
for
at the
the
10,000, I think that's for almost pretty much everybody. I think that, once you go over that 10,000,
Right.
and as we're close, and with development that we see, we're gonna be there, we will hit the 10,000, but how more we go over that. And then, like I said, it's a game changer, that's.
What kind of impact does it make on, I know that for some departments, the 10,000 or more is a benefit because of the grant monies that they could, what kind of impact would having the 10,000 be to the DPW? I know we need another worker, that's a given, but what other impacts would there be?
So with the general fund, really no change whatsoever. The transfer station, really nothing with that. With water, sewer and stormwater, it's the reporting requirements will go. Because
More
again,
work.
it's more work, it's more testing of the wells, it's more testing in the system. It's more reporting on stormwater. Like I said, with the sewer, I'll get to that next of what's
Yeah.
already being forced on us. So,
Do you want to go right into that sewer then?
Could I ask one question?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mike, I saw your hand. Go ahead, Mike.
Make one point. Jim, I just want to also, though, give a lot of credit to you, DPW, for all of the work that you've done these last few years on PFAS eradication. We were at the forefront of that, many towns. You've secured a lot of grants, significant grants. You produced the first filtration system on time and within or under budget, as I remember. And I know you've worked really hard with respect to the upcoming PFAS filtration system. So those are not small projects for a small town. And I think you've done a great job and your crew. So I just want to say, given all of that, I want to give you credit for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and it's this board, the select board, that when I first, Kathy asked me about this again Monday. We talked about this on Monday, and when I first started out in this business, I was an engineer. I used to work for at the Boston Water and Sewer. When I was in charge at night, he'd walk by and he'd say, "Daddy, here, kid, read this." And in it, and we're talking almost 18, 19 years ago, that it was PFAS it's coming. And this forever chemicals, and if you can, I still can't say, read any of the names of them, and I never will, but, it's how why they're regulating us. And the general industry is not being anywhere near regulated in the clothes that we wear, the cooking utensils that we have. But you're gonna regulate, a drop of water in 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And you're gonna regulate, if the EPA regulation moves forward, hopefully it won't, at their 4 parts per trillion. I think I told you this the last time.
And what is it now, Jim, just
It's
to let the
20,
board?
the Mass DEP regulation
And
is
they wanna
20
lower
parts
it
per
to
trillion,
4.
and they wanna lower it to 4 parts per trillion.
But our PFAS plants that we're building will accept the 4%.
Correct.
So we're
They
safe
do.
regardless.
Yeah.
For them, but that means the other 3, they're offline.
Right.
And that was never in the mix at the beginning of all of this. It was never discussed. And if this is $7 million and if this 4.4 parts per trillion goes in, there's a lot more people are gonna be a lot more in the same situation that we're in.
Yeah,
And then the cost of it's gonna go up.
and not to blow this out even further, but I would imagine other towns are scrambling to try to get their PFAS plants. And they might not have the same opportunity as grants that Mills has, because they weren't the first.
And there, a lot of towns are now being forced, Mr. Kaczynski probably knows, into MWRA, which is like having almost a $50 million entrance fee.
Hmm,
Plus you've got to get your debris to their pipes.
yeah,
So you know, well done.
yeah.
You might not have done a lot of right things in this town.
All right, let's move on to sewer.
Okay, just to finish up, it's revenues received for the water is $65,368. That's just extra revenue that it's still built into the rates to keep the rates down. That's for tie-in fees. And I think that why I'd like to give you this number, I think once you start to see that number dropping, you know the construction's dropping, just like building permits and stuff like that. Because the first stop that anybody has to go when they come and they want to get a foundation permit is to the water department to get, if there's water in the vicinity,
Mhm.
is to buy they have to get their tie-in fee for that.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
could you clarify that? What revenue, does this 65,368 represent?
Sure, so it's, you're building a new home in Millis and it's not serviced by water at that time you're constructing it. You come in and you, pull out a water permit. And the cost of that is $2,095 and $137.50 for the meter. And that's what that amount is. And that was a 2000. So every building that was built in, Toll Brothers, every separate condo, every one of them paid, and, you know, that's part of it.
Yeah, I'm asking for clarification because the revenue that the water enterprise brings in is significantly more than
Oh, yeah.
65,000. And I just
Yep.
Yeah.
just want that to be clear, that this is just a portion for tie-ins essentially.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just time.
And Mr. Chair, I've
Yeah.
sort of argued with Jim once in a while about some towns have an $8,000
Yes.
tie-in fee. And we're at 20-something, 2,000.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm always making a motion to increase the tie-ins.
Yeah,
The accomplishments for the sewer, and this is where the conversation is, you know, we will submit a new sewer permit for the Mass DEP by March 30th, 2025. In previous years, the Charles River Pollution District, where they were the discharge of the sewer into the Charles River, they handled the permit for Franklin, Medway, Millis, Bellingham, the four of us. And they would file all the permit. And the Mass DEP in the last year, now they're making Millis have its own permit. For, even though we're part of a discharge into the system. Our engineering firm, GCG, is working on our response with, you know, I've been working with them on this. And what it basically, it states when I say this is the game changer of Millis. Charles River Pollution District, when storage is being discharged into the Charles River, when it reaches 80%, they have to come up with programs of removal of II. Meaning, you know, the water that gets in through the pipe that leaks through both aged pipes, people discharging their sump pumps into the, you know, the kitchen sink that's down in the basement. And if it goes into the treatment plant, it's making us whatever they used to push on us to, at a minimal, we have to start proving that we're removing this infiltration of extra water. And most importantly, which we're already at our 80% of discharge to the Charles River, now we have to, they never want us to make the 100%. And what are you gonna do what are you gonna do that you'll never make the 100%? And then the second part of it is, last year we had, I think it was 3 days, that we actually sent to the Charles River over 1 million gallons of sewage in one day. Our capacity to send to them with the overflow, it's in the 800s in the permit, I think it's like 800 something thousand. So that could be that's gonna be an issue. So we're gonna have to come up with a way of how we're gonna lower that number. And there's a penalty once you go over so many days. And this will all be explained to the select board, in April. You know, we gotta get the permit done first and send it in. The enterprise committee is very much aware of this. They've been working on this with us through the process. So we'll see what happens. It's time that we're gonna have to slow the, giving out the sewer capacity just because, an engineer may come in and say, well, they're making us use, meaning the state is making us use 110 gallons per bedroom. That's not gonna happen. But once it's on paper, until that is removed, they're not gonna free up that extra sewerage for that project to be done. So that's an ongoing thing, and it's not, and that's why I say that, there's a lot of, you've heard this year a lot of things saying, oh, they're coming to Millis. Well, they were coming to Millis before this permit was actually put in place. And a lot of this may have to be revisited. And that's why I say if these developers, if they come in and they say they want to put packaged treatment plants in, they want to put sewer, septic systems in, and that could, we're gonna have to start regulating, not only are we, the substations that we have, there in Millis, I believe there's 6 substations. They're gonna have to also come up with some sort of a plan of maintenance, and they're gonna have to prove it to the town that their stations are cleaned, that there's no infiltration coming out of that station. And that's not a cost that's gonna be on us, it's gonna be also on the developments that own these substations. So
Can you define it through the chair?
Yeah.
What is a substation?
it's a lift station, so most stations in an area, you have everything that's gravity fed into the lowest point, and then it's pumped up from a lift station, it gets pumped up to where it can go back to gravity, and it eventually goes to the.
So there's 6 of those in
Yeah.
town? Thank you.
So in the personnel services, again, we'll wait to talk about that in a minute. Expenses, we're actually looking for an increase of $6,494. But when you look at the budget, you're gonna see that, there's a lot of red markers down on the bottom. When I explain the cuts in a minute, the sewer department is the largest one that's gonna receive the new, percentages. So the revenue, same thing, Mr. Ruby, the 113,000, that's exactly the sewers, because the sewer is a lot more money than water. So these are just tie-in fees.
Tie-in fees for the 113,000.
Correct. And again, the only reason I put this here, I'd like to see what it is next year.
Mhm.
Let's see, well, if I'm doing it or whoever's doing it, let's see if that number is where it is next year.
And are those top, sorry, good,
Yeah, I think you're gonna see it's gonna be a lot less.
okay. And those tie-in fees are on your, budget spreadsheet here?
No,
They're not?
no,
Okay.
that's it's an income. I mean, I think you see it when the finance director, revenues are project, come in for the
Yeah,
to the water and sewer.
Yeah,
enterprise.
yeah.
You definitely see it.
Yeah.
We use it for part of when we adjust rates.
yeah. I'm with you.
So and quickly, the stormwater, the increase overall is. Yeah, it is 62,000, I put the comma in there,
Yep.
$2,742. It's because we're looking for increases in engineering services. And again, we're actually doing the testing. That's the cost of now sending stuff out to be analyzed.
But that increase overall hasn't been too much.
No,
No,
no, it hasn't at all.
Yeah. correct.
And actually, we have not had a rate increase with that. So the capital project detail, I went to the capital planning committee. This is a replacement of a 2013 dump truck. And this is on the capital planning list. It's been on that.
Correct.
It's needs to be retired, and this, not like the last one that I came in November, this will be split 4 ways because it's used on a daily basis. It's used by all departments. So I think it would be the general fund, okay, 24,707.52, and the other three would be the same.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Pete.
I'm sorry, to ask you to back up, but on the stormwater, water and sewer, you're requesting a rate model study.
Yes.
What's the funding, what's your desired outcome of those, and what's the funding, amount?
Sure, so that's gonna be presented to the select board, this Monday night, and it's $20,000.
Each
No,
total?
total.
Yeah.
And the last, rate study that's been done, that was done over 15 years ago, and we haven't done one recently because of the expectation, we had no idea what this PFAS, what, you know, how it was gonna hit us and the costs. So we went year over year over year, just looking at what needed to be paid, and that's how we did we set the rates.
Yeah.
So this will be a full rate study. We've never done one for the stormwater. And so that's what we are gonna ask for that Monday night. It's going in front of the enterprise committee. They'll have a discussion about it before the select board meeting, this coming Monday night.
Just go ahead.
Would, Kleinfelder do that or somebody else independent?
Tie in one. Different, yeah.
Oh, good old Ty and Bond.
All right.
So I will be coming back before we get into this discussion. Next week I'll be back in front of the board.
Yeah,
We're looking for reserve fund transfer for street lighting. We'll explain all that next week.
okay, so let me hit pause. Does anyone have any questions on the capital request for the dump truck? I know you presented this to the capital planning committee. This is in line with the replacement of what you have on your capital schedule. I don't have any specific questions, but I thought I'd allow people to ask if they do.
What did the capital planning think?
We're actually going through our ranking tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, it was presented last week.
mhm.
Yep.
It's, I mean, a 2013 that's been plowing is probably at or near end of life. Would you say it's going to,
We're gonna get rid
going
of
to
it.
scrap?
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
It can't even, I actually thought maybe we'd give it to schools, but the back body is starting to rust too much and too much of a liability. Or even, you know, not, I don't mean to even for them to get it. I mean, they would love to get spare equipment, believe it or not. I mean, they're very happy when they get something. But it would need to be given to them. So we will be coming for the street lighting budget and it was almost, snow and ice.
Yes.
We didn't have that luxury. I think we have a copy of it, but, I will need I thought I was gonna be able to present that tonight, but the town administrator, we need to take a vote next week so we can talk about that.
Okay, so it's still under review,
Yes,
even though that we got,
you can look at it. Yeah.
we can look at it as a reference point. Okay.
So here we are with the FY 26 DPW department split. We talk about this every year. Maybe more than once a year we talk about it, and we usually get into a lot of discussion of people may think it's a useless conversation or whatever. But last year, when we did the study, it was done that the town needed to look at the way the compensation was coming out of the enterprise funds back into the general fund. I can guarantee you, and I've provided to this board, the enterprise funds legally cannot bail out the general fund. The general fund is the only way that they can bail out the enterprise funds. And that's the legal definition of what happens. The general fund is the bank, and the 3 enterprise funds work off of that. We always try to make them self-sufficient, but there could be a time that it just doesn't work. But in the past 3 or 4 years, the enterprise funds have bailed out the general fund every year. It started in the 240s, and in the last 2 years, it's been down to like 150,000. And how that works. Now that the DPW staff go in and we actually plug in our, well, I don't, but the workers, when they plug in their time of what they're actually doing, they plug in 8 hours working in general fund work. It plugs it into the computer system. The computer system, when it prints it out, it pays them for whatever they put in that they worked on. And now that we hit January, the general fund, because of all the work that's been done by enterprise fund workers, has exceeded the budget. It's running a deficit now. So in the past, the select board, and they're the only ones that can do this, they've been signing off on payroll that would move the funds from the enterprise funds back into the general fund to keep it, the balance sheet correct.
Yeah.
So last year, I mean, over the years, we hired one full-time DPW worker back in 2019. And that was, if you remember, we were recommended to hire 4. And then at the bare minimum to hire 3, if you all remember reading that report. There was a change in the way that the transfer station operator, he was actually being paid, his salary was being paid out of the water fund. So that was corrected. So that balanced some of the inadequacies of the way things were done back in 2019. In 2020-21, we looked at, we did a little balancing of managerial staff. And we actually took the managerial staff and we split them 25, 25, 20. Because we felt that legally, if there was ever an audit done on the enterprise funds, we could show that, you know, myself, the DPW office staff and the foreman and the superintendent was actually working was overseeing, you know, the 4 different divisions. Last year, we tried to, so last year and the year before that, we were trying to look to, you know, change the rest of it to get to that $150,000 so that we would not have to do it, you know, make these interfunction transfers from the enterprise funds back into the general fund. Last year we went, the year before, nothing was done. Last year we looked and we went twice for an override, thinking that, you know, an employee would help this situation because that if it was a full-time person, then that person would be doing general fund work only, and that would alleviate the water people from doing the water fund. Well, as we know that, you know, it went down 2 times, not once, but twice. My job as the overseer of the enterprise funds is to make sure that I try to eradicate what the injustice of what's been happening for these past several years. So I worked with the office manager and the DPW superintendent, and we came up with this percentage chart to, again, look at eradicating this situation. And this is not adding any, what you're looking at the split, this is working with what we have.
Right.
In the division.
This is balancing out the division between the different areas and the enterprise funds, so you're decreasing the sewer, you're decreasing the stormwater, and you're adding to this transfer station, the DPW general fund.
So if you look at in the big budget, you can see the percentages of everybody. I figured if I did this, you can actually see it. So the transfer station in 2025, there was 1 FTE, and that was 6% of the total budget. And I believe the payroll for all water, sewer, stormwater, and general fund is that $1,245,073.12. We want to increase that by maybe almost 1% to 7%. So the increase in the transfer station would be $7,781.71. The DPW general fund, this is where it all comes from. This is because we're looking right now. Last year we had 5 full FTEs. We're looking to change that to 6.60. So that goes from a 31% to a 41%, and that's an increase to the general fund of $124,507.31. That's a lot of money. and it has to come from the general fund. And it can't come from, so it has to come from growth. It has to come from somewhere in the general fund. I don't know how it can come from the DPW because it's like, that's why I showed you earlier, you know, a budget line from 2015 to 2025. It's not there to find it. The water fund will stay stagnant and the decrease in the sewer will be 89,489.63. And the stormwater will be a reduction of 42,779.39. And you can see down the bottom, it's the 132,289.02. And when I say it's an increase, transfer station in general, those are both general fund expenditures. So they come from general taxes that we all pay. And the other two are stormwater.
Right, yeah.
So that's not gonna satisfy the Millis resident. It doesn't satisfy the Millis baseball coaches. That doesn't satisfy the Millis High School, you know, people that use these ball fields. It doesn't satisfy someone complaining about roadsides because the work is still not getting done. It's all you're doing with this, you're just changing money around and you're not getting any more work done.
You're not changing anything physically through the workers, you're changing things financially through how it's calculated. Correct.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's looked at these ball fields. Good luck to them. They're gone. It was a bad, whether, you know, somebody drove a truck through it. You know, the infields are pretty ripped up because somebody you drove a ski mobile through it or a Jeep or something
Oh, wow.
along those lines.
Right out here in Town Park?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They have a fair out there every summer, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a surprise.
It's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Booby?
There's a fair out there every year.
That the fear isn't it's the overuse of the
It's,
field.
yeah,
It's a number of things, yeah. But if we say there's trucks out there, then, you know, we put
it's,
whole town comes
it's
up.
overuse is what it is.
a number of things, it's a lot of things.
Yeah.
But again, so to keep the discussion going, which
Yeah.
I think this is what the discussion needs to be.
Sure.
If it's a number of things, it's down to, there's no one there to fix it.
Well, okay, so may I?
Yes,
Millis
you
Youth
can.
Baseball puts tens of thousands of dollars into those fields every year. And I speak because I'm the treasurer of Millis Youth Baseball. We're planning that now and we get quotes and the work gets done every year. We're using more of the fields out there under this current board and the amount that they've grown baseball. We're using more of the fields than we have in past years. And I'm not saying more frequently, but we've brought on fields on board so that we can use fields less. So we've done a number of investments and it all comes through basically fees for Millis Youth Baseball and charity fundraising.
And these
That's
are,
how it's getting done.
yeah, and those are all baseball diamonds that are out
The
here?
softball does that as well. Yeah.
Okay,
So that's been since the day I
Sure,
started working here.
yeah.
And that money's been spent since when my kids played baseball there and I paid the fees. It was done the same way. Nothing's changed. But to me, that's unacceptable. That's how we're paying taxes. And we're relying on a youth baseball league to fix the fields. To me, that's unacceptable, Mr. Perugi. And if that's the way it is, like this here, if that's the answer, oh, well, what can you do about it?
so you're saying that it should shift more to the town responsibility?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It should all.
Whether you're soccer, flag football, baseball, et cetera, carnival, bands.
And all those things that you just spoke to, none of that money comes to repairs of the field.
Yeah,
There's no money in the budget to repair any of this. We go up, we cut the grass, we turn the water on, we pay for the water bill. And the water guys cut the grass every single Thursday afternoon. And that's our, whatever we
that's what you
do
do.
for the fields.
Yeah,
So in closing, the above level service, the only way this is gonna work is if the DPW finally gets their just due and they get 2 full-time employees. And there would be no need of this transfer of the $132,000, because if you're hiring 2 new people, they're doing the work. And there's no need that you would not, people wouldn't be going in that are being paid out of water, sewer and stormwater, and they would not be plugging in 8 hours of general fund work. And again, then you wouldn't have the baseball coaches, you wouldn't have the high school that uses that more than anybody. They use it more than Millis Youth Baseball, they use it more than girls softball, then it's all, they use it for soccer, they use it for football practice, and that's why the field, the middle of the field, I don't know how you're gonna use it this year. And I say, you know, I say good luck to you.
So what you're saying then, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have the department split where it would be adding, or instead of doing that, hiring 2 new DPW employees under the general fund
At 108,000.
okay,
So those
would
numbers
be in
you see,
replace. Yeah.
that's the base salary for 2 heavy equipment operators at $108,000. The single plan, that's for 2,
Yeah,
at $17,904, and a family plan for 2 at $44,000.
Yeah.
And those numbers are gonna change because the rates for
The health insurance will be going up.
It's gonna go through the roof.
right. But this 108, those for 2 employees though, correct? This is total number, right?
Correct.
Not 216,000.
Did I put 2?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It says a new position will cover, but that new
Yeah.
position means 2 employees.
That means, yeah, because up top it says 2.
Yeah, and just clarifying.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Just wondering, Mr. McKay, the, insurance, is that the town portion or is that the full amount and then it's broken down?
That's the town.
The town portion of it, okay. Wow.
Insurance is going up.
Yeah.
11%, yeah, I was gonna say that, but.
I think that's what it was last, wasn't it
Okay, I'm gonna
11%
say-
last year? 8?
Yeah,
Feels like 11.
that is a lot of money on a town budget.
A lot of money,
Someday
it's a lot of money period.
Someday you'll have to let us know how many town employees are on insurance. I'm just curious, thank you.
Okay,
So that's.
so make sense with everybody?
I just wanna make certain that the money is still gonna be reimbursed to the enterprise funds prior to the staff, because money is owed now. You're not gonna
For
say,
fiscal year
oh,
25.
well, we're giving you these people, so let's go ahead and charge the enterprise funds now.
So the way it's being happening right now is the finance director, and she'll speak for herself when she's saying next week, but, those funds still have to be transferred.
Right.
And I don't believe that they've never come back to the enterprise funds, no.
Mhm. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. A lot of info.
Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you for outlining it.
I would hope he,
That's-
you know, I heard something earlier that, you know, we vote the way you wanna vote. I think this board has a role. I mean, you get together every Wednesday night, and I'm speaking as let me state this, I'm speaking
Sure.
as a citizen right now. When I heard that, you know, that this board doesn't have a role, well, this board sits here and they listen to all this, and you do make recommendations, whether it's the select board's budget or not. I would hope that you think, and what you recommend, I mean, you recommend the budgets, whether they pass or they fail. You recommend school projects, whether they pass or they fail. And something like this here, something has to be done. It's time something has to be done. It can't be, cannot be kicked down the road no longer
Right.
with this.
And even, yeah, even asking for an employee, forget the structure, how it's
I'm
done.
talking about the inadequacies to the general, to the enterprise
That's
funds.
the enterprise.
Happen year over year over year. And somebody's gonna pick up the baton and speak. Because your water bills are gonna go up 15% for the next, and when your water bill goes up, that means your sewer won't go up that much.
Yeah.
But your water bill's gonna go up 15% for at least the next 5 years.
And that's
pay.
not including the override money, the PFAS money.
No,
No.
well, I'm sorry, that is, yeah. That would be the-
15% is what you're saying, well, for the PFAS. I never heard, we've asked and not got that.
We're gonna find
How
it
much
out
the
when we
amount?
do this
Okay.
study.
Yeah,
So how
Go ahead,
does the money
Joyce.
get to the general fund instead of being, I mean,
It comes from general taxes. It comes from
Right.
general taxation.
versus the enterprise funds.
The enterprise fund pays they pay over almost $700,000 back into the general fund.
well, I'm wondering
services.
how did that happen? How did it turn out that that the watering, so how did it happen that those three funds?
Well,
how
they have
did it-
to, but because people in this building do work for the enterprise funds, the treasurer collector's office, they produce the bills, they accept the money. So, you know, we do have the finance office, they pay
Percentages.
you know,
Yeah,
that they pay all the.
there's a
employees.
formula.
So there is a
There is.
formula.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I can show you
that's
later
all
if you want.
separate of everything.
That's separate from this.
Yeah.
Than this, it's,
No,
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 you don't
not, but I'm talking, well, how did it end up being that these three funds, how did it end up getting reversed? I guess is my question.
There's no money.
because the way that the DPW has been set up from day one was it should be separate divisions. And before there was enterprise funds and the enterprise funds came in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
there was no tracking of it. There was no need of tracking because it was all under the general fund.
Okay,
So when the enterprise funds were put in place, then you had to follow guidelines of who was assigned to each division needed to be tracked. And their hours, you just can't say that, you know, you may have one DPW, but in one DPW, like Millis is probably one of the only towns that you can ever look at that has one full DPW. They all have water divisions, sewer divisions, stormwater divisions, and general fund divisions, parks, recreation, and stuff like that. Here, it's if the ball fields need to be cut, who's ever in that, of the 13 employees, they cut the ball fields. If the 900,000 road potholes on Route 9 need to be patched every other day, everybody goes out, whether you're water, sewer, and that they have no call on
And
that.
taking the data over the last few years, you're adjusting it this round.
Yes.
thank you.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
in summary, can you just explain where you see the two DPW staff doing, is there additional work that they'll be doing rather than doing the work of the enterprise staff now, or is there anything projected? You mentioned fields.
Yeah,
Is that something that you want to take over the fields and?
So we've looked at, and we've spoken to the town administrator and the, one of the select board members who was very, very much in favor of, we would take, it would be like the maintenance division, just like when the schools took over the, you know, the buildings, the
Mhm.
maintenance of all the buildings, we would take over all of the, and that would even include more employees, but that would be including school fields, town fields, Oak Grove, all the conservation land, so on, so on, so on. I mean, we've started that discussion, and
Now tell me this, Mr. Berube stated that a lot of materials. Are the materials to maintain these fields? You'll have the staff now, whatever Mr. Berube's group used to maintain the fields, gravel, whatever the long list you have, Pete.
So-
Is that in your budget now to do that?
no.
Okay.
So what we would do is what we do with the soccer field, the soccer group, they pay a certain fee into the, and it goes to the recreation
Mhm.
department. I think they paid, I don't know what they paid, I think it was $3 or something, I don't know what it is right now, whatever that fee, and it goes into the general fund. There would have to be some sort of a user fee
Okay,
for the, if the Little League and the girls softball gave up the maintenance of these fields,
Right.
there'd have to be some sort of a fee
okay.
that would have to be paid into the town for the use of
To
those
supplement
fields.
the materials.
Okay.
None
Thank
of,
you,
none
Mr.
of
Chair. I
those,
wasn't sure.
Yeah.
girls softball, Millis youth baseball, the Millis High School, they're the only three divisions that don't pay anything into because they pay, as Mr. Berube stated, tens of thousands of dollars every year to get these fields
Right.
up and running for our youth to play on,
Right.
because the town just can't do it.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right. I don't think, see any other questions. Everyone looks good in Zoom land? Jim, thank you very much for explaining all that to us. I know it gets complex quickly.
We understand a little bit each year.
But yeah, stay with us. We're learning. No. Go ahead, Mike.
Chairman, I just want to thank Mr. McKay for his comprehensive report. I know he always provides one for you. Wanted to add, some of what, Mr. Crone said. Jim's been, outstanding in his pursuit of grants and additional funds for the town, and he should be, recognized for that hard work and that tenacity. When he sees a grant fund out there, he doesn't rest until he's able to secure it, last do it for the town. So he's done some great work there. And I will say, the administration does support Jim's approach, director's approach, as far as bringing on two staff. I think that's the most effective way to work towards closing that gap, and it also provides
Jim's getting excited.
closer to the staff needed. There's been no question, and Jim and I have had scores of conversations.
I don't doubt it.
about this.
You're saying it out loud,
I don't doubt it.
We've had scores of conversations about the staffing needs of the department ever since that
You've been
community paradigm report certainly came in, and we've had a number of discussions that the need is there, and it's among our highest priorities to get those additional staff for the DPW general fund, so.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Mr. Kaczynski, would you care to characterize how the select board is receiving the request?
I can't say I fully speak for them at this point. 'Cause
I don't want you
still
to,
think-
just
I still think in
general.
some discussions, I think the select board is very supportive of, the additional staff for the DPW. We're still working out the revenue figures, so I can't say anything is certain, but I would say the DPW staff is among the highest priorities for them as well. And we've had some discussions about that, and the details of that will be fleshed out hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
And you'll share.
And
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr.
quick
Kaczynski.
one more quick question, Mike. What yard are we on in terms of contract negotiations?
You're in the red zone.
Okay, good. We were there a week ago.
Let's say we're almost
Not
close
time
enough
yet.
to do a quarterback sneak into the end.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Let's go for a touchdown instead of a field goal.
Push.
All right.
Push.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Very nice, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if we can approve some minutes, that would be great. Before, Kathy, what was the minutes that you wanted with the
They're put in
tri-board?
there,
Is that on the
put in
12th?
there.
It was?
The last about the tri-board,
Okay.
making sure it's recorded, we gave it.
So I'm gonna have to take some Zoom votes too on this one, but can I get a motion for February
I
12th?
vote that the committee vote to approve the minutes from February 12th as written.
Second.
And it's been motioned and seconded to approve the February 12th FinCom meeting minutes. Why don't we, we're doing in-person and Zoom, we'll just go around and take a roll call. So Sarah,
Abstain.
you abstain
Aye.
because you're not on there,
Correct, I was not there.
correct? Pete,
Aye.
John, I, Mike,
I have to abstain because I missed the very end of the meeting.
you were at this meeting though.
I was at the meeting, but I missed the end.
You're on the next one that you can, yeah, you can abstain from. So if you want to say aye, you can.
Aye.
Jody,
I abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
correct. Pete Underhill.
Aye.
All right, it approves with 2 abstentions. 1 abstention, Jody. Thank you. So now we'll go to the
No, two. Sarah and
oh, sorry, correct, excuse me. 2 abstentions. Moving on to the February 26th Finance Committee meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
I move that we accept the minutes from February 26th meeting.
Second.
thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the February 26th FinCom meeting minutes. Sarah, you are on this one. Do you want to start off? Let's do a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Good.
Aye.
Both, that was Pete and Jody, perfect. So that passes as well. Thank you very much. I know those were on the agendas for a couple of weeks there. Shifting over to liaison updates, Council on Aging.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
actually, I had printed it out, but never got back home to pick it up. But the Council on Aging is looking forward to launching their community needs assessment survey of residents over the age of 60 later this month with the help of the UMass Boston Gerontology after receiving a legislative earmark for $50,000 recently. There will be more information at our select board meeting on March 17th. If anybody would like to watch, there'll be a brief presentation on it.
Fantastic. Capital planning update. There are several capital planning requests. One of them, as we've heard through FinCom already, Animal Controls requesting a new vehicle. Building Department, as we heard tonight, is asking for a vehicle. DPW, as mentioned tonight, is asking for a new dump truck. We heard in prior meetings, the fire is asking for a utility vehicle to replace the brush truck, as well as requesting radio consoles for fire. And the library is requesting its on-schedule repairs with the building. And the school's requesting a special education van. Their paving came up in the conversation, but that's being deferred to maintenance to the DPW, to the town, essentially. Tomorrow we're meeting and we're going through the ranking of it. Last week, the Veritex came in and gave the presentation again for the proposed middle school renovation and addition, which is pretty exciting. So if you haven't checked out the school building committee website and the presentation, there's a lot of stuff on there. So it's pretty good, actually. So those are the capital planning items.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
what's of those projects that are expenditures that you listed, what's the sum total value of those vehicle purchases and console radios?
Yeah, they fluctuate a little bit, but around 477,000.
Does anybody know the free cash available aside from must pays? Because I see it, you know, for $2 million.
Underneath that number, the 2 million? Or is that the number you're looking for?
I'm looking for, of that free cash, I think there's usually a number of must pays in there. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I do not know that number off the top of my head. I can research it though for if you want.
And Mr. Chair, is the free cash balance what was left over from fall town meeting, or is that after?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Maybe we get,
I can find out.
maybe we get Jody to.
Yeah, and Jody will be here next week. Because she's gonna cover, right? She's gonna cover all the,
Or Jody Garzon.
yeah, or Jody is on. So we have our budget next week. Planning board, no planning board will be a school building. Is that the 19th?
John?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Just to make note to everybody, the Board of Selectmen approved the recommendation of the school building committee for the plan that they had proposed for the renovation and additions to the middle school and high school. It'll now start the presentation toward the Massachusetts School Building Funding Group, so that it'll go before them, and they will eventually make a decision as to whether or not they'll assist in the funding of the project. Once they do that, then there'll maybe plans that will start to be drafted and proposals that will start to be drafted for a presentation to town meeting, potentially in the fall.
Thank you. AR4A is what the select board selected for the option. Correct. Thank you, Mike.
It's a combination of renovation and a new addition. It doesn't require the use of any modular classrooms during the construction period. It doesn't disturb the fields, and there's no need to replace the fields. These are items that would not be compensated by the state. Only items that relate to the construction and renovation are compensated. So they've done a pretty good job of keeping everything tight, as tight as they can be. Obviously, all stuff is starting to go to hell with respect to prices with this trade war that's now gone on. So we can't be sure what the prices are going to be at this very moment, and nor will they know that within the next few months if we are seeing wood and steel with high tariffs. So we're hoping that something settles down in all of that and this project can proceed forward. But in all honesty, I mean, I think all of us know that if this goes on much longer, the cost of construction is nobody's gonna bid on anything with any lasting significance.
Yeah, and just to write on that, at the meeting last week, the ball is in the state's court right now in terms of reviewing it and coming back with more of the specific numbers instead of the budgeted numbers.
Right.
But it's pretty exciting, actually. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's pretty exciting in terms of going from just repair, renovation to a brand new school and everything in between, and the pros and cons with each. And I think the committee and the select board have they've approved it, but I think the school building committee has chosen the right one.
I commend the work
Yeah.
that they've done. It's been incredible. I mean, I've been viewing Zoom, watching the meetings and reading all the material and listening to the people talk. And it has been outstanding. I've never seen
Very
in all
organized.
in all the 43 years I've lived here, I don't think I've seen a project worked on so diligently and so respectfully and so thorough and conscious of the needs of the town, but
Yeah.
also the needs of the people.
Yeah.
And that goes, I mean, I have to applaud them.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, I was involved in the Clyde Brown, and it was similar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Excellence is
Yeah.
pardon on
The other thing
Clyde Brown. I believe there's a lot of the same people involved.
There
in it,
are.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it started with Clyde Brown.
Yeah.
I think to consider too, that if you've read that recent article in the Boston Globe, there are a number of projects out there that are 800 million, 900 million, $700 million. This is perhaps the least expensive school renovation, reconstruction project in the state at this point. So I think that the citizens of Westwood need to understand that this is not one of these brand new super schools. We're really looking at taking what we currently have and making it better, as opposed to starting from the ground up. And I think that's a great tactic that the board has come up with. So understanding that everybody in town obviously is cognitive of the fact that, you know, town taxes are high and people's, you know, incomes are fluctuating. But nonetheless, it's a 50, 60-year-old school. It needs a renovation. It needs a modernization. And I have to say, this is perhaps one of the best, you know, projects that are out there.
You said Westwood.
Excuse me, Westwood, I meant Millis. I apologize.
Okay, we knew. Any other final comments before we adjourn?
There's the other CPC, community.
Yeah, please do.
There, so far, there's no new anything for town meeting requests.
For the record. All right, fair enough. I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been a motion and second to move to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand in Zoom land.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.